What is up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Raptors Report. It is time to talk about the Toronto Raptors because after the Raptors waived Bruno Fernando, they have opened up a roster spot and they have filled it out temporarily by signing a player to a 10-week contract, which I will be discussing in today's video. So I will be going through his stats, his strengths, and his weaknesses as well, and discuss what kind of impact he could potentially have on the Toronto Raptors. So if you're ready to watch, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Andre Nabolza. Thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. And Aaron Rose was reporting that the Raptors have signed Canadian Eugene Omoruyi to a 10-day contract. Now, who is Eugene? He does play with the Raptors 905. He's played 4 games, and in the 26.2 minutes he's played, he's averaged 16.8 points. He shot 54%, 54.5% from the field. He's also shooting a really good percentage of 46.2% on limited attempts, 3.3 attempts from the three-point line. His free throw percentage isn't so great at 50%. He's averaging 5.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 1 steal a game. But as we know, it is so important to talk about the difference between the G League and the NBA. And he has played in the NBA as well. So let's take a look at his stats across the board in his NBA career. So Eugene, as you see there, he's listed as a small forward. He's 6'7", 244 pounds, which is absolutely amazing, which I'll talk about when we talk about, some of his strengths and weaknesses as well. He's quite a big body for his size. He's 27 years old, going to be 28 in about approximately a month. And as you take a look at his career there, he did play with several teams. And in his latest season with the Washington Wizards last season, he averaged 4.8 points, 1.2 or 2 rebounds approximately, and not even an assist a game. But again, that is limited minutes on only 9 minutes. When he did get a decent amount of minutes with the Detroit Pistons the previous season, he averaged 21.9 minutes per game, and he averaged 9.7 points, 3.5 rebounds, and assists per game. But let's talk about some of Eugene's strengths and weaknesses. So I watched some of Eugene's highlights, and of course, it's kind of difficult to see in terms of defensive capabilities. Again, if you're not getting a player that's blocking a ton of shots or getting a ton of steals, there's only so much limited defense you can see out there. So mostly when we talk about some of his strengths and weaknesses, mostly just based on his offensive ability. But in terms of his strengths, let's talk about him. And one of his biggest strengths is that he gets after the rebound. One thing you'll notice with Eugene is he absolutely doesn't matter if he misses, doesn't matter if he's several feet away from the basket. If he sees a rebound, he's definitely going to go for it. He plays exceptionally hard. He can also score in bunches there. Now, you did see his statistics, but one thing I don't want to say a microwave because you don't just want to throw that term around very loosely, but when he does score, he does tend to score in bunches. He's also a good energy role player. This is something that's very important for a Toronto Raptors team in particular because they have a lot of young guys playing on off of their bench, and you certainly could use some players like Eugene that come and just bring some good energy. And I think fans really underestimate how much that can provide in terms of, that energy is so important. When you think about a sport like hockey, you look at how much energy it provides when you get into fights, when there's a big hit. And similarly with NBA as well, you really need those high energy guys that come in, provide some good energy, and all of a sudden you get the fans in the game. You also get your teammates, riled up as well, which is super important. He also understands his role. That is very, very underrated in the NBA, where you see role players trying to do a little bit too much and also just not really understanding what their role is. Role players are players that are supposed to obviously support the star players, and that is something Eugene does. He's not going to be jacking up shots like crazy. He's not going to be taking insane amount of shots, contestant shots. And with respect to Chris Boucher, it's not going to be a similar situation where he's kind of just forcing up a lot of shots. So having players like that understand what they're supposed to do is also very important. And he plays physical. This is something that's really important for a Toronto Raptors team, and I will talk about this in my future video, but I really, really feel like they play very soft at times. They're not physical enough. But Eugene, on the other hand, you'll see him not only battling for the rebounds, but he really gets in there. And even when he's attacking the basket, he's not afraid of contact. You'll notice that he really just uses his body to get into other players' chest at times and just uses his physicality very, very well. Now that we have talked about Eugene's strength, it's also very important to talk about his weaknesses as well, because unfortunately with Eugene, there are a ton. So he is a streaky shooter. So when we talk about he can score in bunches, he can also miss a lot of shots as well. Again, I don't want to continuously just pick on Chris Boucher, but it seems like when you notice Chris Boucher, he'll jack up a lot of shots. This isn't necessarily the case with Eugene, but if he's going to score, he's going to, he'll give you something crazy like what you saw with Chris Boucher in New York, where he scores 10 points in 2 minutes. Eugene can certainly give you that. He can have games where he has 10 points, 15 points. He'll get the fans all excited and riled up. But then the next few games, he may just go out and give you 2 points, 1 of 7 shooting as well. So he's a very streaky shooter. He's also got very limited athleticism. Now, I hate using this comparison, but I just watched a Tom Brady roast, and I'm going to roast Eugene a little bit here because if you think about someone like a Zion Williamson, his body build is Eugene is essentially like that, but with absolutely no lift off the ground. I mean, when you see him dunk, going for some dunks, he's literally getting off the floor maybe 2 or 3 feet. So he's like Zion Williamson, just without the athleticism. So again, Eugene, if your family or you guys are watching this, no disrespect to you, but it's quite funny to watch Eugene because there's some highlights out there, and you'll see that he'll there's actually one particular highlight of where he's trying to go in for an alley hoop and he almost doesn't make it to the rim. And mind you, this is a 6'7" guy, right? So he has very, very limited athleticism. You're not going to see him soaring for some big dunks, but he's also not a good free throw shooter, unfortunately. He doesn't. He can get to the line at times, especially because he's such a physical body. He definitely absorbs a lot of contact as well. But when he does shoot free throws, he's not a good free throw shooter. And this one, I think, is the most difficult one to absorb personally for me. The other ones you can definitely, you can put aside, but he's not great at finishing at the rim. And this was concerning because I was looking at his advanced statistics from previous seasons, and just from last season alone, he averaged 41.9% from 0 to 3 feet. Again, that's 0 to 3 feet, which is really bad considering he's 6'7". And again, his shooting is limited and streaky at times. You should absolutely be able to finish at the rim. And I didn't necessarily list this in one of the weaknesses, but if you look at those advanced statistics, from 3 to 10 feet from the rim, he's shooting close to 26%, which again is not a good number for particularly someone that's fitted into the small forward position. If you're a center, if you're a power forward, it's a little bit more understandable. At least you can say you're 6'10", 6'11". You're not a good shooter. You're not you don't have a jump shot, which is fine. But for someone like Eugene that's listed as a small forward, particularly just given his size as 6'7", often when you see players listed at that, they should be at least be able to shoot. If not shoot, they'll definitely be able to finish at the rim, which he doesn't. So again, my next weakness is pretty much just kind of goes with everything I've been saying about him, and that is he has limited offense. So again, his shot, if he's hitting them, he might hit 2 or 3 shots in a row, but that's about it. Again, especially with his lack of ability to finish at the rim, that really does hurt his offense a lot because that's actually something he does a ton of, where you'll notice he attacks the basket quite a bit, misses a ton, but then he does get his offensive rebound as well. And the last weakness we have here is very inconsistent offense, which, kind of just ties in everything together. Like I said, streaky shooter, has limited athleticism, not great at finishing at the rim, has limited offense, and can be inconsistent. So again, that's Eugene in a nutshell. But again, don't take my opinion as the truth, and that's it. I highly suggest a lot of people to form their own opinions. Go watch some of his highlights. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. And I've always said this, there's a reason why I'm a YouTuber and why I'm not working in the NBA. So clearly Masai sees something with him. And again, he's Canadian. Shout out to him. I hope he does well with the Raptors. Maybe he gets a second 10-day contract, but I'm not as hopeful as maybe some other people might. But let's see how it goes. So let's talk about the trivia question for today's video. So since we're talking about Eugene, which college did Eugene play for? Was it A, Rutgers? Was it B, Texas? Was it C, Oregon? Or was it D, Kansas? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.